Well, let's go to West Jerusalem and speak to Ofer Cassif, who represents the Hadash party and is an MK, a member of the Israeli Knesset, the national parliament. Ofer Cassif, thank you so much for your time. As far as I know, Benjamin Netanyahu has still not accepted any responsibility for the Hamas attack inside Israel on October the 7th. Do you think that there will be any accountability for that security failure that is pinned on the Prime Minister?
Definitely. First of all, of course, he is not taking any responsibility, and he won't take any responsibility because we are dealing with a psychopath. This guy doesn't know what responsibility is. He always diverts the responsibility, or if there's a guilt of something, to someone else. He only takes responsibility for successes, as it were, never to failures. Now, obviously, there must have been already a serious national independent committee to investigate not the failure or the fiasco, but actually the responsibility of Netanyahu personally and his governments throughout the years is more than just responsibility. It's almost a guilt for the massacre that Hamas did, because he said in 2019 that anyone who opposes a Palestinian independent state must weaken the Palestinian Authority and strengthen Hamas. And it's not only words, he actually did so. Throughout the years, he was personally responsible for transferring a huge amount of money from Qatar to Hamas. Everybody knew about it, and everybody knows about it. And he did so in order to realize what I just said that he said. He wanted a strong Hamas in order to divide and rule, like any colonialist regime. He wanted and still wants to divide the Palestinians between Gaza and the West Bank. And in that way, by strengthening the most fanatics, the bigots of Hamas, the murderers of Hamas, in that way, he wanted to prevent the establishment of a Palestinian state and to prevent the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. It is his own responsibility, if not more than that. He must be prosecuted.
I'd like to get your opinion on how you think the Prime Minister specifically is presenting this conflict, because obviously it becomes more and more difficult as people see the images. Do you think there's a way that he's kind of trying to appeal almost to the religious element of his constituents? He's mentioned biblical references before, and I want to get this right because it shows something about his thinking when he said the war effort is akin to the biblical story of Amalek. That's when God apparently told King Saul, kill every person, including women and children, in this rival nation.
Probably the first genocide in history of monotheism.
And does it serve Netanyahu's purpose? Is it working to couch the conflict in terms like that?
Netanyahu is interested in one thing, his own future out of prison, because everybody knows that he's under serious 3 charges. His trial goes on. He knows that if he's found guilty, and probably will be, there's a good chance that he goes to prison. His only way to get out or to stay out of prison is by remaining a prime minister. That's the only thing that drives him. So in that sense, he's been doing anything only for that purpose. Quoting the Bible or not quoting the Bible is according to what he thinks will serve him best. That's the only thing. And unfortunately, those who are with him in the government, they are messianic, fanatic, racist, and fascist components. And they don't think about the well-being of Israelis either, just like Netanyahu himself. They are thinking only about this messianic nightmare of occupying the Gaza Strip, of killing, or at least pushing away and expelling the Palestinian people from Gaza, if not for the West Bank as well. So there is a kind of a joint forces of two factors which have different ways of thinking, but in the end of the day, their aims are getting together. They are, in that sense, Netanyahu, as I said, is interested in his own good, and he wants to remain the prime minister. So for that matter, he's been doing, and I'm afraid he's going to cling to that, everything that he thinks that serves him. On the other hand, those messianic fascists want to control the so-called all-biblical land of Israel, as they put it. So this is their real interest, not the security of the Israelis and the state of Israel, not the well-being of the hostages, and not even the lot of the soldiers, of the Israeli soldiers who have been killed on a daily basis, and let alone the thousands and thousands of Palestinians, women and children, who have been butchered in the last 2 months and more. They don't care about it. They don't care about it. So in that sense, if the international community doesn't get involved immediately in order to stop this carnage, I'm afraid that it's going to be even worse, and it's quite bad enough already, as we all know. But I want to emphasize, stopping the war, releasing the hostages, all of them, before it's too late. There's no time. They are dying there under the terrible conditions they are held by Hamas. And there's no time. So it's not only the carnage of the Palestinians, it's also the lot of the hostages, their families, and the Israelis as a whole. We are under crazy government and a lunatic prime minister, and unfortunately, the world doesn't do anything.
Well, it seems at the moment that Benjamin Netanyahu is convinced that the military operation is the only way to get those hostages released from Gaza.
I don't think he thinks so, sorry.
He keeps saying that. He keeps saying that. He does. Those words come out of his mouth. Yeah. Okay.
Look,
Ofer Cassif, do you mind?
Joke, if I may say, if I may,
yeah,
with your permission. There is a sort of a joke, I would say, a sarcastic one. How do you know that Netanyahu is lying? He opens his mouth. So that's the answer to what you said.
Give us an alternative then. How should Israel's leadership approach a possible peace with the Palestinians if it's not going to be Benjamin Netanyahu's way? And maybe I should say, actually, with Hamas in Gaza. How would you approach some sort of peace with a group that is intent on destroying Israel?
First of all, I agree with you. That's the reason that I, from the beginning, said that we are not only against the terrible criminal massacre that Hamas committed, we are against Hamas and its ideology. But there are two things that should have been done ages ago, and I hope it's not too late. I believe it's not too late, but it must be done immediately. First and foremost, as I said before, to save the lives of the hostages and to stop the carnage of the Palestinians, and also to save the lives of Israeli soldiers who are killed there in vain, on the altar of the well-being of Netanyahu and his government only, not the well-being of the Israelis, let alone the Palestinians. That's the one thing, and the first thing that should be done immediately. Ending the war totally, not a ceasefire, not part of the fire, but total end of the war, withdrawal of the Israeli forces. Of course, it must be done under international inspection. The Hamas must be held, cannot continue with its crimes, by the way, against its own people as well, but only political solution. There's no military solution. The Hamas must understand there's no military solution to the occupation. Israel must understand there's no military solution to the Palestinian issue. Only a political one. So, and the political one, as I said, in the short run, ending the war, release of all hostages, if that means, and it should mean, that there must be an exchange of prisoners, so be it. That's the first step. And immediately to begin a serious, profound, not a sham, but a serious and profound political process towards ending the occupation and establishing of a Palestinian state, a sovereign Palestinian state, in all territories Israel occupied in June 1967, alongside the state of Israel. Because we must understand that the context of the terrible massacre committed by Hamas, that's not to say that there's any justification for this carnage, absolutely not, nothing. But we have to understand the context in order to prevent such incidents from occur again. The context is the ongoing occupation and siege. When people have nothing to lose but their chains, they go crazy. So in order to prevent those crimes and the assaults, the criminal assaults, and the terrible massacre that Israel carries out at the moment, the only way to prevent it, to save the lives of Palestinians and Israelis alike, because of that, it's the interest of both peoples. The only way is to end this terrible occupation. We need the international community to do so. Unfortunately, at the moment, it doesn't, especially because of the vetoes by the United States.
Yeah, we know what the Americans are doing at the UN Security Council. Member of the Israeli Knesset, Ofer Cassif, thank you so much indeed, sir.
Thank you, and I wish everybody, as possible as it may be, a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I hope for peace, a peaceful one for everyone.
Absolutely. Same to you.
Thank you.